invites. Cool. It always takes a second for the replay
Yep.
to actually show
I
that we're
think
live.
yes. Hi guys. Be sure to comment if you can see us. Welcome.
Yes, sorry about that. We were having technical difficulties.
Yes, but that's okay. First day of fall.
Yeah, today is the first day of fall. That's why we
Today is the
scheduled
first
it
day.
today.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. I thought your dad was being festive on purpose, but that's just a happy coincidence.
He literally just woke up because he works nights. I woke
Ah.
up 20 minutes before the live show.
Oh, no.
I mean, I've been waiting for this book for a year and a half, I think. To
Have
read it.
you really? Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
when we read the Christmas one, he was like, you guys have to pick this one for the Halloween one. You have to pick it. And I was like, well, we don't usually like pick the same author.
Yeah.
We finally made our way back around.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm
Really?
totally fine with that. This will be our first repeat author. But you know, it's funny because this shows I have the memory of a goldfish. It took me at least 3 chapters before I realized, isn't this is a separate series or is it the
Oh,
same series?
it's the same.
That's what I thought. And I'm like, a lot of these characters don't seem familiar to
No, there were some
whatsoever.
characters that they mentioned, and I was like, I don't recall the town being as busybody as they were.
It wasn't as busybody, and then I think the assistant baker.
Oh, we didn't have an assistant baker. She was
No.
by herself.
She did have one. It was the older lady that we thought she was Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus, you're right.
Or like,
Yeah.
They're hinting at it. They're hinting at it. So
well, they did say in the book that she kind of runs through assistant. So I'm assuming you didn't. These are the only 2 books in the series you read too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I was trying to also piece some stuff together because I didn't remember the best friends at all.
I remember the best friend, and I remembered her love interest.
Yes.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, her love interest was in the Christmas one. He was like on a fishing trip,
Right.
and then he came back.
Yeah. Now he moved to the town, and they live separate, but they're together.
Gotcha. I've got lots of thoughts on him. So
anyway. But yeah, real quick, guys, for everyone joining. Hi, Jess. Hi, everyone. We're talking about the Murder at the Pumpkin Pageant by Darcy Hannah. This is the 4th book in the Beacon Shop mystery series. We're kind of circling back because we read this one for Christmas. Sorry if you can't see it. The Christmas one a while ago. So we're circling back. My dad is here. Dad, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Ulysses. I am at Books with Samantha's dad. Hello, everyone.
VIP guest.
I wanted to join this live show because I read the Christmas one with them about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. And they had mentioned a ghost in it. And I was very excited because I thought, oh, keep the theme and next fall pick this one. And they just completely ignored me. So.
We circled back. We circled
back. Yes, we made an exception to our unwritten rule of having the same author, but that's fine. And I don't. So please keep me honest. There wasn't mention of a ghost in the first one, right?
There so briefly.
Yes,
go ahead. Could you remember?
So to mention, they're in the lighthouse. She's getting it all together, and she's getting ready for the Christmas thing. And there's mention of, have you met the ghost of the lighthouse? And she says, yeah, I've had some strange things in the house, the pipe smoke and footsteps in the stairs. And they kind of briefly go in, and she talks to him like she's dealing with something, and she'll smell the pipe smoke. She's like, not now, Willie, or she'll kind of like banter with the ghost or something with him. And so they briefly mention it. There's like maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the book where the light turns on or the pipe smelled, and they briefly interact with, or the main character briefly interacts with. He doesn't interact with anybody else but her.
Yeah, and it's kind of said that like if there's a murder or if someone's in danger, the lights at the lighthouse turn on.
Yeah.
So that's the only mention in the Christmas one. He was a bigger character in here.
Way bigger.
Yeah.
Which
is why you were mad in the Christmas one that we didn't know more about him.
It was just like, I smell the pipe smoke, leave me alone. And I'm like, who are you talking to? And then they briefly mention it. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? So.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's give, I guess, a brief recap about this one before we dive in. So essentially, I guess we've kind of already talked about it. We've got our main character, whose name I'm totally blanking on. Thank you, Lindsay. She owns the bake shop, and it's kind of in this old lighthouse that she now lives in. And so you got a lot of things happening. So it happens during autumn. And so one of her friends, or I guess it's her baking assistant slash friend, signs her up for this ghost hunter show because everybody in the town kind of knows that her lighthouse is haunted. So you've got this group of guys who comes and they're going to basically try to check out the lighthouse on Halloween night. Along with them is her best friend who has this podcast. She wants to live stream everything. And while the group of them are in the lighthouse trying to find this ghost, something spooky happens. It freaks them out. Everybody runs out, and her friend runs into a dead body that is in Lindsay's yard. And the rest is from there. We'll kind of get into it, but that's pretty much the gist of it. So you want me to pull up the
you can pull it
cute little questions and all of that?
List, and we have the discussion as well. We'll post these. Like, let us know, guys, if you want us to post these before or after the live show. We'll post this after the live show if you want to like look at it as well. But actually, you know what? I'm gonna post it on.
Okay, yeah, and I didn't even think about that, Sam.
If you guys want to pull it up on the stories, you can follow along with us because we have the characters and like a discussion list as well.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, so I always put the main characters or the amateur sleuth's name, mostly because I don't remember their names. But like Sam said, we have Lindsay. What did you guys think of her this second go around that you are re-meeting her again?
Go ahead, Deb.
I didn't see her as much of a nosy body this time around. It seemed she was more focused. I would say she turned into a professional sleuther, and she was more focused and determined in this one. The other one seems he was just trying to be a nosy body and trying to figure things out, and kind of fell into the investigation and figuring it out. This time they looked like they were amateur detectives, and they got their own little group and their own little friends. Like, okay, let's get together and brainstorm. And they kept notes. They were more focused this time around. So it seemed a little more organized in their investigation, I guess you can call it, of the murder. Maybe because it was at her place and not necessarily just in the town. That it seemed she was a little more focused, or maybe she was just trying to clear her name in a sense.
Because it happened at her big show. Lindsay's an interesting character. I think she's a little bit of an unreliable narrator in the sense that she's pretty judgmental. Like, she very much has quick judgments for people based on their appearances, which I don't typically like and is a little unsufferable, but I don't entirely dislike her either. Like, she has moments where she's like, oh, wow, I totally judge them by their appearance. Like, I shouldn't do that. So she's very self-reflective, but I definitely think that in the very beginning, she was very judgmental.
Yeah, she tends to be more jump on the mark, as they say. Like, you see something, you'd be like, oh, that's because not cool and collective, right? She makes us snap judgment of people.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sam. She was judgmental, but I think I forgave that because she kind of caught herself doing it. And I think if she had been less self-aware, then it probably would have bothered me a lot more. So yeah, I mean, as far as sleuths go, I feel like she's right in the middle, like nice, not too nosy, but also kind of, like you said, organized and doing what she needs to do to figure things out, since obviously it really hits close to home. Okay, so let's talk about, we're gonna kind of jump around, especially just kind of the way that we have these lists out here. So let's talk about the characters, and if it bleeds into some of this discussion, great, because I do have a question for you guys. So Leslie Adams, she is our murder victim. And I have on here, one of the questions is, what are your thoughts on the murder and if it fits the cozy genre? Because I have to say, I did not find this particular murder cozy at all. I feel like the hanging was so gruesome.
Yeah.
And
bumping into the dead body, and it's like
on live
stream.
Yeah.
That wasn't cozy.
It was actually pretty upsetting for me, and I have no idea why. I mean, obviously we both have read thrillers that are way darker than this. We've even had cozies where there's blood, but for some reason the hanging in particular, yes, thank you, Cheryl, it was shocking, and I was really thrown off by it, especially because she was in a clown costume coincidentally, and then the fact that she was so beloved, I was shocked that
Yeah.
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
so well liked was loved because I
Very well
thought it
connected person in the community. Like,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah,
I was like,
wow.
I didn't see this coming at all. And honestly, if we were gonna kind of guess based on the first couple of chapters who the victim was gonna be, I thought it was gonna be
The
one
ghost
of
kid.
the ghost guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they
No.
were new
I
to
think
town.
some infighting between the two, and their partner killed them because as soon as like
Oh,
they're
the murder
their murder
victim.
victim,
Yes,
yeah,
the murder victim.
there was
Yes,
gonna be one of the ghost guys like
yeah,
infighting, and they were trying to make one of them was trying to make their
Yeah.
their show popular because it wasn't again.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
what I thought initially
Because
of what was going on.
typically, oh, side note, Spencer, if you want to talk to a specific comment, you can click on it and it will come on the screen as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
No worries. So if you guys haven't read a lot of cozy mysteries, in general, the murder happens off page. So anything like gory or death usually happens off page, and it's something not too gruesome. It's usually like a poisoning
Yeah.
or like something like that. So the fact that, and also it's a lot of times someone who is not likable. So
That right.
in a sense, like you don't feel bad
Super connected,
that
right?
that
Yes,
person's dead.
yes,
Yeah.
This
yes.
one was like hanging from a tree, a teacher in
Hmm.
front of a bunch of high
Hmm.
school students.
Hmm.
I was like, whoa, 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 this is
Yes,
not what I'm used to.
Right. And in the
right.
last book, it seemed more of like the board game Clue, where they gave you, oh, it happened here at this time over
And it
there,
was happening
and
off
you
Hmm.
have to
page.
figure out who it was and who was thinking
Hmm.
based on other information. So
Hmm.
it was a little darker than
Yes.
I expected it.
Yeah.
No, I agree, especially because so it happened, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's got to have a dark side because why else would she be the victim? But she never actually had a dark side. So
No.
to be
Oh,
honest, it
oh,
continued to bother me. And then I did have a note in here because again, I I really enjoyed the story, but the death and then her dog being missing and sad and like that was triggering to me. So it
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
a lot emotionally for the death of this particular one. And again, that aside, I think the story was great, but the
Mhm.
death was very hard hitting.
And I think it was only that way because it's a cozy mystery genre. In a regular thriller book, we wouldn't have that same feedback. But because
Yeah.
in a cozy mystery genre, it's very much supposed to be like a hallmark, like not a
Hmm.
lot of gruesome stuff is usually happening.
Hmm.
And there was a point where she came into the bake shop and she reached to like the heroine Lindsay and was like, I have to talk to you. Like, it's
Right.
very important. And I thought that she was going to be a potential suspect. I never thought that she
Yeah.
would be the
Yeah.
victim.
mm.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
So that was shocking. So hey, at least all of the cozies we've ever read, I can still get some surprises out
Yeah.
of them. So
Pause. I don't think we
um
ever said our star rating. Did we ever say our star rating for
oh
the book?
no, let's yeah. So what did you think?
I gave it 4 stars. More of a 3.5, but I'm rounding it up to 4. Um, Mainly because I like the side characters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 3.5 on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. I got the information I was looking for from the last book to this one. It was more. I was more focused on the ghost. Like I want to
Yeah,
know more
yeah.
about the ghost, and this is Halloween. Give me some details.
Yeah.
And my cup was full. Reading this one for why I went into reading it.
Yeah.
But it was a
Mm-hmm.
really good book. I enjoyed the story. It kept you interested. I was at work in my office just reading
Mhm.
the whole time. I'm like, people keep walking by, and I'm like, yeah, hi,
Mm-hmm.
hi.
Yeah.
Kind of going on. Just saying hello. Yes, I'm being polite, but I'm still reading. So
Yeah.
it
Right.
was good.
For reference, my dad will never give a book 5 stars. He literally never
I
has.
am definitely one of those.
So a 3-star rating is actually very, very good for him.
Nice.
Yes.
That's impressive. I give out 5 stars off of vibe. So for this one though, I gave it a 4, and that's just because I thought that the story was really well written. I don't think that there were any strings hanging,
Mhm.
any
Yeah, no problem.
unanswered questions, and I think it was just a solidly written story, even it being a cozy mystery. Because I know oftentimes we'll kind of forgive a lot of that stuff just again for the vibes, but I think it was solid despite the personal issues that I had with some of the stuff. So,
Mhm.
okay, let's go on. I put Kennedy on here, who was her best friend, not because of her being a suspect, obviously, but I adored her as a character a lot. Sam, did you listen to the audiobook?
I did listen to the audiobook, and
I
she does have a British accent.
loved it so much. Like that accent made the character for me.
Uh-huh.
And personally, I liked her a lot. I think that she was unapologetically herself, and completely different than the other characters. She wasn't exactly like Lindsay, so I really enjoyed that. And I was actually even emotionally moved at the end when she, basically was saying, "I gotta go and figure out my
That was
life."
a big cliffhanger, though.
Yeah,
It's
like,
like,
what's gonna
like, what's
happen?
happening? Is she gonna leave? Is she going back? Now it's like, now I'm stuck with the ghost story. Now I need to know whether or
Now
not
you're attached to the character.
is she
What's
Yeah,
is
happening to
she leaving
Kennedy?
her boyfriend? Is he going back to England? Is he going with her?
Mhm.
yeah. I did listen to the audiobook. My dad read it physically, and I think it was a great audiobook. I did like a tandem read because once you were
Mhm.
done, I started reading it as I was listening to it. I'm the opposite. I did not like her at all.
Oh,
I found
Mm.
interesting.
her a little selfish,
Oh,
and
yeah, for sure.
Self-centered, I would
yeah,
say, not
very
She's
selfish, more
self-centered.
self-centered.
self-centered than anything else. She was like focused on here, like my spirit, my protection, my yeah. She
Yeah.
was more
Yeah.
self-centered
I think
than
that's why I liked her because she
Okay.
wasn't
yeah.
because she
I
wasn't
wanted her
like
to, like,
other
have a
cookie
moment
cutter.
where she was, like, very, like, selfless, I guess. But I
Yeah.
guess that was the
Mm,
end.
it
And
was the end, yeah.
a lot of best friends are mirror image of each other where they have a lot of
Yes,
in a lot of things.
exactly.
They look like polar opposite magnets who
Mhm,
don't attract
Mhm.
who attract each other. So it was kind of nice to see the contrast of two best friends who are been friends for a long time and they're still so close. So it's nice.
yeah, I think that's exactly why I liked her, but that brings me to my next character, Rory, the boyfriend, and I'm telling you right now, I hated him. And
What?
I did not I was about him, like 70%. We get to like the last chapter and he has a line about Kennedy, her friend, that he
Mm,
immediately ended up on my bucket list of
At the
just
end,
not liking.
yeah.
saying that her boyfriend could do better.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And
It
I'm
is
just
so much
like,
better.
that's
He
so
emphasized it like
yes, and it
he
was
could do
so
way better than her.
narcissistic or
Yeah.
so like masculine energy. And I thought throughout the story that they had a playfully antagonistic relationship that we often see in stories. But I think that his comment at the end, without Kennedy being there, really showed his true feelings. And it bothered me how Lindsay just kind of brushed it off. Like, I know she was like, "Hey, I'm old too," or whatever she said, but she didn't defend her friend at all. And it left such a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it was he was basically like, "She's old and she's a busybody," and the heroine was like, "Well, so am I," and the hero was like, "Oh, but not you, you're perfect." And I was like,
Right.
"Oh, no, I didn't like that." And then it started to make me think very differently about his group of friends because I thought, "Oh, that's nice. These guys all get together and the girls all get together." But
Mhm,
then it made me think of like, oh, like the good old boys club, like kind of thing. So I was like, I don't
mhm,
I've
yeah,
read cozy mysteries of existing couples or the couples get married, like
mhm,
Ellie Alexander has them, like other cozy mysteries have them. But I honestly think that he was a pretty useless character.
He
yeah,
was more of a secondary, like a third party tag along
Yeah.
character.
yeah,
So they made him part of the investigation. He didn't seem to be very involved or very uh
yeah,
into it too much. He was just
Mhm.
going for
yeah.
the flow, like to appease his girlfriend. Like, I'm just here
Yeah,
because
and like, I've read some, like you said, where their other half is concerned for them. So they're like, "Don't meddle because I don't want you to put yourself in danger." But he was always very questioning of her. Like he didn't believe in the ghost. He didn't
Mm,
believe XYZ. And I know we have a question about whether we think that there's a ghost in general, but like I just felt he was very dismissive in a lot of in her feelings. And Cheryl, I totally agree with you. So Kennedy's boyfriend, Jake, the cop. Nope,
oh, I
not
love him.
Jake.
Love him.
I'm totally forgetting it, blanking in his name. But anyway, yes, I do love him too, and I think that he would have also been a better character. And I like he. So the author does something that I really enjoy, which is kind of positions the sleuth to have a relationship with someone in law enforcement, so that we have like an easy in to where
Yeah.
they can snoop around without being, breaking the law or going too out of the way. And the fact that he like told them to check on the dog or like showed photo, like he did it just enough that I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's usually in cozy mysteries, I feel like you get one or two things. You either get there's a romance between the detective and the amateur sleuth,
Mhm.
or they hate the detective, and the
Yeah.
detective is like not helpful, hates that they're meddlesome. So this was very unique in the sense that he was like a good friend and someone that was willing to work with them. And so I think he
Mhm.
was
Well,
good, like
they
well
have
written.
the law enforcement naysayer, Sergeant Murdoch.
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
So
do.
they have that where
Good cop,
she's
bad
like,
cop.
"Don't do it. Why are you
Yeah.
involving yourself?"
Yeah,
So
that's true. That's
so
true.
they had a good cop bad cop vibe going between the
Mhm.
two. Don't tell Murdoch because I'll get fired.
Yeah.
So it was,
He reminds me of God, what's his name? Is it Thomas? What is his name in the
Yes,
thing?
in Ellie
Yeah,
Alexander Thomas. He does give off
he
Thomas
reminds
vibes.
me of Thomas so much. Except
Yeah.
he wasn't the love interest.
I like his
Yeah.
puppy love for Kennedy. Like he sees her, and
Yeah.
then the author made a really good point of pointing out how he doe-eyed looked at
Mm.
her from across the room, or
Mhm.
sees her, and he just gleams with love, and like, oh my gosh, she's like, that's my girlfriend. Like very
It was cute.
cheerleaderish girlfriend, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's me. That's all mine over there.
And at the
So
Mhm.
end, he like firearm carries her to
yes,
safety. So that was the good romance of the book, not
Yeah.
in
not
whatever he
Rory.
Yeah.
roared.
I
Yeah.
well, so let's switch quick to the one of the discussion questions because I had something in here about what did you think about Lindsay and Roy's relationship? Even just in general, what were your thoughts on the romance in cozies? Because I know we tend to go back and forth, and certain books do it better than others.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I thought it was the scenes themselves, like how the words are written. I thought I enjoyed. I think her description of how she saw Rory was sweet. Obviously, I don't like Rory, but in terms of the relationship in the cozy, I wasn't bothered by it. I know sometimes it's very much like you have to choose either the relationship or solving mysteries, and I don't feel like he made her make that choice. So it was
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't in this book. They didn't focus too much on their romance. They were more doe-eyed and lovey-dovey in the Christmas one. They were more connected. They seemed to be more in
Hmm.
pattern, more in sync.
Hmm.
It seems here like they were like, "Oh, hey, Rory, yes, that's great. Okay, you go check that out. I'll go this way." They were more
Yeah,
separate than together in this book.
Yeah.
out of the
Yeah.
honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the fourth one, so they've been together for a while now. I don't think that this romance added anything to the story, but I
Mhm.
wasn't mad at it. It wasn't
Right.
like distracting in the sense.
Hmm.
Despite being a romance reader, I don't need romances in my cozy mysteries
Right.
because that's
Agreed.
really not like what I'm looking for.
Hmm.
Uh, I like quirky side characters more than I like romances.
Yep, I completely agree. Okay, so we've got, let's see. So, I've got on here Mike Whitcomb, which is
Mhm.
so let's start getting into our suspects, right? Because we've got Mike,
Right.
we've got the ghost hunter guys. I kind of grouped them all together. Just super fast because we didn't actually get too much of a description. I'm gonna skip over them, and I want to talk about Mr. Bartlett, who's I'm pretty sure we never got his first name, but the drama teacher who was having a relationship with a high school student. So
No,
let
no,
me find
no.
the comment. I did not like that in this book at all. It
Yeah,
just
that was a bit of a like, whoa, wait a minute, wait, what?
And
yeah.
I hated that they made him attractive. They made
Oh
him
yeah.
young
Young,
and attractive,
yeah,
Like
and
that
they were like,
teaser
"Oh,
did.
well, all the girls like him." Oh, that pissed me off
yeah, that
bad.
was
Mhm,
not.
mhm, mhm, as if
Having
that
worked
was
at a
okay.
high school, it was very creepy to see that. It was just like was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like
Mhm,
I was immediately I was like, why wasn't it him that was taken off the board?
Mhm.
I was like, why like he's immediately the suspect. Like he needs to be caught, he needs to be do something. It
mhm.
was really off-putting for me. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, the fact that they took so long to find him bothered me. Like, I kept waiting for them
Yeah.
to bring his name up again, and it just seemed very cavalier.
Mhm.
Even not him as a suspect, everybody was very cavalier about him having a relationship. Nobody seemed bothered by I mean,
Well, they were
not as
bothered,
bothered
but
as I feel like
they were nonchalant about it. Like they were
right,
Yeah,
bothered, like,
right.
oh, like, really? Okay, and then
Yeah,
they kind of
and
like
they
moved
moved
off of it,
on.
and I'm
and
like,
then
But they
they moved
didn't
wait.
on.
even interview the girl that he was supposedly, like, having that situation with either, which was
No,
Right.
weird. The only reason he wasn't a suspect for me
right.
was because we never met him.
Right.
Every conversation that happened with him happened off page, and then we were
Mhm.
told, "Oh, like, he said this," or, "Oh, he's hiding out in a cabin." So I was like, "There's no way he can be the suspect because, like, we have not met this man."
Right.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
I agree.
weird.
The underage romance totally unexpected. Yeah, I agree. And so speaking of kind of characters that they interview on and off page. Was I the only one bothered where Lindsay and her friends, because it was Kennedy and then I think Rory and the cop guy. Anyway, them talking to the students on their own. Like
Yeah,
at
without
first, it
parents.
bothered me of them talking right. And I know the first one, I forgot the young woman's name, but she was kind of like the new agey, witchy kind of girl. Her mom was there, but then they talked to Jake, whose name I put on the list because I remembered.
Well, they did go to Jake's house and saw the parents, and they said, "Oh, he's in the back."
Oh, they did.
And then the
Oh, I
parents,
missed
so they
that.
gave him
I missed
permission,
that.
but they didn't.
Yeah,
Dad
I
or
missed
mom was
that.
there, and maybe because they were. I figured I put them in the junior senior year.
Hmm.
They
I think
had
they
to
were
be
seniors, so they
older.
were
Yeah,
older. That's why they didn't
yeah,
have that. But, as a parent myself, I don't care if you're, my daughter's over 20. I'm like, you're still not talking to her without me.
right. You're not just coming in
She
my
can make
like,
her own
yes, she does
decisions.
that.
You're
Go to
you're
her room
you're
and
gonna
talk to
talk
her.
through me
Right.
to her. Like,
Yeah.
Yes,
first, let's figure this out where we're going. So yeah,
yes,
it was a little off
totally.
too.
And it okay,
Okay,
so Closing Mysteries, you can extend your disbelief a little bit, but like she
this
asked
is
one of
off.
the teachers or family friends for the information about the kids' names. And
That.
the
Mhm.
teacher was like, "You can't, like, why are you asking that? Like, you're
Yeah,
not
Yes,
the police, these
yes,
are minors."
she was
And
very
then
protective.
a little bit after he was like, "Well, this is her name." I was like, "That would have gotten you fired."
Yes,
yes, yes,
yes.
a
Yeah, you don't
thousand
get like
percent.
information like that.
This one, this a little went a little off the rails because it was just like, give me one or two little like, ooh, it's edgy, cozy, but there was a lot happening.
Yeah,
Um,
and what was interesting, like you said, this one had no boundaries.
Mhm.
Lindsay was not our only amateur sleuth, it was the whole
oh,
town.
Half the town was involved.
everybody.
Well, everybody saw it on the live show, so everybody
Oh,
had a vested interest in this
that's
stuff. So it
true.
True.
wasn't like it happened and they found them in the back, and like, oh my god, what happened behind the curtain?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Everybody saw it. Everybody
okay.
was involved. So I think that's why I like the fact that small town community vibes are. I love that. Like that's my
Mhm.
goal in life is to go to a small town, have a coffee place where you go to, and a bar where you can drink it, and everybody knows everybody. It's a little nosy. Maybe that's the nosy of me, but I love that community
Yeah.
vibe of that. So I love that the whole community was vested. Everyone had a say. Even there was a scene in the book where they were having lunch, and
Oh,
the
the
and the
waitress.
waitress comes up and she's like,
Yeah.
"So what do you guys think?" As
Oh,
they're
Yeah.
pouring
I
coffees,
like that.
I was like, oh yeah, we have this information. Like, oh, okay, well, keep us posted. And she walks away.
That's
It
true.
was kind of nice that they were all like everybody had their own little input and guidance in the story. So it was kind
yeah.
of nice.
I've never
Yeah.
read a mystery where it was the whole town
Yeah.
helping, but
Right.
I think that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
I liked it a
Me
lot.
too. And it really goes to show, even though obviously I only read the Christmas one and then this one, but it just really shows the progression through now about how much Lindsay has ingrained herself into the community with everybody willing to
Yeah,
help and even the sergeant, not the boyfriend, but even the sergeant. Yeah,
at
I
the
mean,
end.
of course it's her job to say that she doesn't want her to investigate, but she still respects her. She tells her she enjoys, her business and a bake shop and blah blah
Yeah,
blah. So it really is like a harmonious town without any people really trying to give grief with everything.
I looked up the town. She hates that I do this in books. Like I go back to the
oh
map
my
that's
gosh.
provided, and I'm like, oh, they
Wait,
went here
there
today.
was a
That's
map?
cool.
No,
So
no,
I looked it
he
up.
looked up the map
I was
of
trying to see if Beacon Harbor was a
Ah,
location or something in Michigan where like
mhm.
it goes through. There's a couple Beacon
Smart.
locations in Michigan, so you like kind of look it up.
Yeah,
If you've never been to Michigan, Lake Michigan, it is humongous. It looks like an
yeah.
ocean. So if you're ever
Mhm.
there and you see it, you won't see the other end. You'll never figure it out. You'll be on it for hours if you're trying to
Yeah.
cross. So it's a huge lake. So I was like, well, let me look around, and I know it's got to be close to here. So I was just intrigued by the whole thing. So
when he reads fantasies and there's a map, like he is
Oh,
looking at where they are
right.
in the map.
yeah, you
So
need
there's
to.
not a throwaway comment. If there's like a place or a historic thing, he looks it up.
You
Yeah.
gotta look it up. Yeah, gotta orient yourself.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm like, I don't care where we are. We're
Yeah.
somewhere by the ocean.
I can't even pronounce the name. It's just whatever.
Well, it makes the story flow because like in the dragon one that we were reading, there's
Fourth
a
one.
part when they're climbing the mountain and you're like, what mountain? And so you look in the thing, he's like, oh, I see, and it can see it on the map. It's cool.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about okay, so we've got some more suspects. Out of Mike Whitcomb, which is the family friend, and then the ghost hunter guys, I kind of grouped them all together. Plus, well, so Mr. Bartlett, I didn't think he was a suspect either. But between those group of guys and then the author and his assistant, did you guys pick up any vibes and think it was one of them and it ended up not being, or did you guess who it
Oh, I
was?
guessed it. I guessed
I
it like
didn't.
90 pages in. I think I
What?
told you.
Yeah, she kind of
Yeah.
figured it out. I had no
Impressed.
clue.
Yeah, me
I
either.
as soon as the first interaction they have with Mr. Whitcomb
I
was
thought it
very.
was him.
I was right away. I was like, because he was very
Oh,
like, "Why are you talking to her? Leave her
mhm,
alone.
mhm,
Let me have her so I can
mhm,
convince her to give me some information." And he was very into it. The reason I didn't think it was him, it was only because it was too of a spotlight. I was like, they're
mm,
not gonna put him on focus like that, so much on it, so like that. I was very like that's my number one, but it
mhm,
can't be him because so much focus was given to him and how he was and how like I'm a family friend, step back. This is my family, leave me alone. I was like, you're
mhm,
not a family member, you're just a friend, dude, and you're friends with her mom, not the
mm,
daughter.
Mhm.
Why are
mhm,
you, so and the way they put it, like maybe she, he's trying to convince her. It was so I thought he was my number one, but I didn't think it was him. I couldn't figure it out until till like the pages it was turning and the Reed and Reaper guy.
mhm.
And then it made sense once once he like said who it was. So
Yeah. Christina, I'm the same. I guessed it as soon as he was introduced.
I
And
failed.
I was 90 pages in. I remember the page count because I was sitting on the couch and I told my dad,
So what happened?
I said, "Oh, you know what? Like, it's so obvious that it's the author guy because he's like a mystery thriller author. Like, so like I don't know. I felt like it was a little bit of a cliche. And I told him, I said, the reason I think it's him is because the way he walked in and was so angry that she had redecorated the lighthouse. Like, he was
Mm,
irrationally angry and he was like pressuring her for a tour. I was like, no, it's definitely him. But I had hoped, and then I told him, I was like, I hope like a good plot twist is one of the ghost guys. Like, that would be interesting.
that's what yes, and I thought
That's
it
what
was
I
going to be one
wanted,
of the
but
ghost
I knew
guys.
it was the author. I knew it was the author.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be one of the ghost guys. I thought I go through this song and dance all the time because I thought it was Mike Whitcomb because I'm like, he's so obvious that they're
mhm,
Mhm.
going to dismiss him and then it will be. And then I thought maybe it's one of the ghost guys, especially because they had a couple of scenes with them, so they got more screen time. And to be
mhm,
honest, even the research assistant who was Callie's professor, I thought
mhm,
it was him since that was a late reveal, but I didn't see the author simply because, yes, he was kind of angry in the beginning and then he kind of explained it away. But I thought he was so unhinged out of nowhere. So
right. Yeah, it
it
was
just,
definitely he deserves an Oscar if they put him on a screenplay because you didn't have
yeah,
no clue.
no.
I didn't think it was him at all. I thought it was either Whitcomb or Bartlett. Bartlett was too not enough focus.
Yeah, we didn't know
Hmm.
him. I never
We
thought it
didn't
was
know if it
him.
was
Right.
enough, but we had got enough information about the author, but not focused on him. That it
Mm,
kind of put him on the background in the back burner
hmm.
for me. So I was like, well, they're dancing around Whitcomb and Bartlett, and I was like, I know it can't be Bartlett. That's too obvious and too much going through.
Hmm.
But Whitcomb is just too. He was too meddling in my
Hmm.
that I
He
was
was
like, it's
meddling.
Oh, but that's what I thought about the author. I thought he was too aggressive in the way that he asked questions, and like he was so secretive about like what he was writing. I was like, why are you here? Like, it
right.
doesn't make
Hmm.
sense for you to be here. So it has to be you, and you write murder. He even says it in the book. Like, it was like, you write murder books, so you know
Right.
hmm.
how to hide the
See, and
bodies.
that's why it's kind of obvious it's a murder writer
Yeah.
who did it, but his assistant, if we're talking about like why are you here? For him, I'm like, why is your research assistant here? And he's kind of like in the wings, like I'm not bringing the guy handing me facts over to
Oh,
um
that's a good
Mm,
point. That's a good point.
mm.
Because when they said his name, Jordan something, what was it? Jordan
Jordy Tripp.
Jordan
Jordy
Nope,
Tripp.
Tripp.
that's not him. The Otzi author. Did I Grant
Yeah, the author.
Fairfield is the research assistant, unless I
No,
got them
Jordan Tripp
switched.
is the author, but he
Mhm.
writes
Yes.
under a pseudonym. So because he
Oh,
writes
yes.
under a pseudonym, I remembered him because of his author name. So when they
Hmm.
said Jordy Tripp, there was like a brief second. I was like, is that the author's assistant? And I was like,
Mm.
no, it's the author.
It's the author. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's why I dismissed him. I was like, that's kind of cliche and a little obvious that the murder mystery guy is the murderer. Like he
Hmm.
knows, a
Hmm.
lot of research goes into writing a book, obviously, especially a murder, and you're trying to get all the
Hmm.
details, the autopsies and things like that. So you put a lot of details in it.
Right.
So I was like, he would be too of an obvious person to
Yeah.
get to be the murderer. So I didn't dismiss him, but I was like, there's the spotlight is on him. Look at the murder mystery guy. He writes a
Yeah.
murder. Like,
And I just feel like his motive, when they explained it, again, all I keep thinking is it's just unhinged. It would be one thing
yes,
if his books flopped and he came to get some inspiration and he decided to commit a murder to really like feel in the moment. But it felt really kind of all over the place that his research assistant came to him with an idea about a nonfiction and he knows nothing about maritime stuff. And all of a sudden you're wanting to switch to nonfiction and you think that's how you're going to make your money. But then instead you kill the lady and you're trying to find this treasure. And like you really think you're going to be able to find a treasure, cash in, get the money without anybody like who
right.
the
That was
detective
off
at
the
the
rail.
end
He went
says
off the
like,
rails like
yeah,
immediately.
like it
Seemed
wouldn't
like
even belong to you.
he
He
seemed
could
like a
have
normal
like
person. Just
offered. He could have got more information if he was like, "I'll give you like royalty or residuals on the book if you give
something.
me
Yeah,
more information." Like
right.
he was unhinged for sure,
Yeah.
and also it didn't make sense to me that he was so unhinged because people recognized him in the town and they liked him. They were
Right.
like, "Oh, I've read
Yeah.
your
He's
books." Like he was
psychotic
not
then.
Even
Yeah.
even Rory.
generally
Rory had
so
read his
hated.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Right.
because he had one bad book, but he wasn't hated by his readership, so that was
No.
No.
weird.
He didn't have a fall. He didn't have a downfall whatsoever. And I think again, him trying to switch genres and make it a big hit, like it was just a lot going on. And I think ultimately that's why I was so thrown off. If he would have tried to be like, I'm trying to work on my 14th whatever series book, blah blah blah, and this town might be the good inspiration. I might put a ghost in it or whatever. But it was
Mhm.
a totally different book, and I didn't see it coming.
It was it was crazy. He literally just went off the rails.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he had progression
No.
in him losing it and going through. He just went from, okay, I sucked the last time. I'm gonna be a murderer today. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
because he
that's just
even apologized to Lindsay, like, "Hey, sorry for losing it the first time I met you about changing
okay.
your lighthouse. It's just whatever." So I mean, he it was an impressive show of
He was
psychoticness,
roping
I
together
guess.
the whole
Yeah,
book
the
until the
whole
very end, and
time.
you're like, was like,
He
whoa,
didn't
And
like
have
what
any
was the
tracks.
point of the Grim Reaper? That didn't make sense, other than it being Halloween.
That's yes,
yeah, he was
that's
just
true.
gonna cover his tracks by
Oh, okay.
keeping himself.
Got it.
Yeah,
Um, it was a little, head on the nail on the head kind of thing. Like I'm a murderer and I'm the Grim Reaper. So I was like,
Yeah.
again, that was one of those things. You're like, are you
yeah,
really? Like,
right. So did he bring that costume or did he buy it at the local shop? Now I'm like, how
yeah,
prepared did you
Oh,
come
went
into
to the
this?
yeah.
bathroom. Like, where'd you have it?
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
That's a
true.
good one.
But,
yeah,
so I don't think it's a testament to if a cozy mystery is good or not if you can guess the murder victim, because
right.
some people just read it and then some people try to guess it. I don't think it's, like, bad on the author's writing if you do or don't guess it, so that never
Right.
bothers me. I always try to guess it for the live shows just because it's fun for me personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good at trying to figure it out, but I
You did
couldn't.
last time.
I
You
did
did for the
last
Christmas
time
one.
for the Christmas one. I knew right away.
Mhm.
I couldn't get this one. It was a lot of information and a lot of detail.
Hmm.
On all the suspects, where you're like, the only ones we didn't get too much details on was the ghost guys.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I it had to be one of them, and I thought they were trying to make their show better, and then one of them's gonna die, and
Hmm.
I thought it was one. I thought one of them was gonna be the victim, and the other one was
Hmm.
gonna be the murderer because of their live show. And yeah, they were popular, but they were trying to be mainstream, and there's this
Hmm.
show that was gonna make or break them.
And
So
maybe they had, like, a lawsuit or
or
something, and
something,
this is,
yeah.
like,
And
their
I'm like,
Yeah,
last
they had way
the
more
whole
motive.
story for them, and I wanted it to be them.
yes,
Me too. I wanted to honestly, I feel like, and again, I did rate the book 4 stars because I liked it, but there was a lot going on
Oh,
in
for
this
sure.
yes,
story. And I wanted to
awesome,
have
yes,
more of the ghost guys because to be honest, the first third of the book, you think that's the main point. Like Lindsay was hesitant about inviting them. Now they're here. Now they're looking. They have a connection with her assistant baker. So like they're there. It's just they kind of faded into the background,
yeah.
especially, considering that they were in the lighthouse when the murder happened.
Yeah, they got written off a little too soon. They should
It
Mhm.
was that's why I thought it was one of them because it was like the show goes through and then they were kind of put off to the side
yeah.
Right.
and they didn't even they didn't really investigate them. They didn't really look into
They were having
them.
dinner with
No.
them.
They were having dinner. So I was
Yes.
like, it's gotta be one of them because
Yeah.
they're not talking about them. They're in the background. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were in the police. They talked to them, but they were it was off page. Everything was off page. I thought eventually they're just gonna bring up the slam it right in our faces and be like,
Right.
they came into town and this is why they did it. And I'm like,
Yes.
Well, I thought it was one of them for sure.
I think that's the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars, because I think that would have been a more interesting storyline. But overall, I did still like the ending too.
Yeah, I think the author is strong, especially considering this is the same series, and I mean the Christmas one was strong. Just really quickly, I guess, kind of to wrap up, what did you think about the fall ambience? Right, like this is our autumnal read. What did you think about the coziness?
Yeah, they didn't give too many fall vibes. The only time they gave the fall vibes is when they were, which to me was not, I wouldn't say off-putting, but it was more like, I don't need this detail. Why are you giving me the recipe to sugar cookies with?
Oh no, that's a cozy mystery.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoyed it, because I was like, but to me, as I'm reading it, I don't need to know that you're making chocolate chip cookies, muffins.
That's
Give me
it's funny
it was great.
I thought that there wasn't enough of that personally.
But see, because of that, I'm sitting there. I was like, they should put a scratch and sniff in the book. It's like she's in the thing. I'm like, just give me something so I can smell the cookie vibes out of it.
Recipes in the bag.
Oh yes, we're gonna give it to Stephanie, the chocolate chip muffin one.
Oh yeah, if your sister's gonna make it.
It was funny because I was like, for a baking.
There was not nearly enough baking.
In here.
Right. She never went to work. And I'm just like, I admittedly could not help but compare it to the bake shop. And
of course.
She's baking like, I think that series blends sleuthing and her job better. And I think in this one, she was barely ever at work. And I just didn't feel that. So in terms of like a cozy part of the cozy mystery, I feel like it leaned a lot heavier into the kind of goriness of it and less about the cozy. So it was a little off balance for me.
I don't think it had any fall vibes. If you took out this pumpkin pageant, which was maybe 3 pages, exactly, wasn't on Halloween, because after the Halloween vibes disappeared. Perfect. After the pumpkin pageant, there was not a single thing. If I would have
Halloween or fall or anything,
if I would have read it after the pumpkin pageant, I would have never known it was during fall. There was no references to the small town. There was no references to leaves changing or them getting ready for Thanksgiving. It was it was
not. They made it more winterish than anything else, because they were like, it was so cold and the fog's coming in and everything.
The river.
The only time that you felt the fall vibe is when they were talking about pumpkin cookie.
In the very beginning.
That's the only it was fall. It's because they incorporated a pumpkin spice something into it. But that's it.
It felt a little bit more shoehorned than other baking cozies. I agree. And it's funny because if this book was repackaged as a fiction mystery kind of book, I probably would rate it higher, because I wouldn't have the expectations. I wouldn't have these expectations of the coziness, but because there's certain things that need to be checked, it falls flat, and like you said, just the ambiance. Again, if this were a thriller or a mystery, the way that the death happened, I'd be like, cool, somebody hanging in a clown costume, that's eerie, let's read more. But having it as part of a not whimsical, but again, a cozy series that's supposed to take place during fall, I wasn't feeling very fall.
And it's funny how you said you were over the baking descriptions. What I was over, we didn't even touch on this, I was over the dog. Who cares about this dog?
I can see because the way she talked about the dog so much, you would think it was more of like a cozy themed around her pet pal.
Her pet,
especially because they found the other dog. So there was a lot of talk.
I'm like, okay, leave Trixie alone. Like,
who cares about this dog? The owner's dead. Focus on that.
Yeah. He's like, we have to find the dog. Clean her up. Oh, she looks so cute. Oh, look how adorable. I'm like, okay, forget that.
And like people, when they found out that Trixie was missing, maybe I have no heart. I
was like, oh, we found her. Like, does she have a GoPro on her collar that's gonna tell us who murdered the person? Why are we so focused on the dog? I'm like, leave the dog alone.
She was super integral. The poodle was integral to the plot because her collar.
She was the whole plot. The whole plot was about Trixie.
Yeah.
Even at the very end, when they went into the like, oh, the collar's at the thing. I was like, and then we go with the dog again. I was like, The whole thing was the dog. The whole
So-
dog was the plot line. It just followed the dog. The murder was about the dog. The dog was underneath the tree. The dog was
Yes,
in
yes.
the thing. The dog's collar was at the place. The murderer went to the dog's house, and I'm
her
like,
dog saved her.
yes, the dog saved her. And
That's true. That's true. It should be more of like a puppy
I do
pal
want a dog
type
like Wellington
theme.
though. Wellington sounds like an amazing dog. Like I want a big, fluffy,
No. Oh,
slobbering
man.
dog now.
Yeah, so I didn't expect her to be actually part of the plot or important, and I was like, we need to shut up about this
Yeah.
damn dog.
He was the
They were
plot.
more upset about the dog missing than the teacher was murdered. You know what? That is facts, honestly. So because I was bothered by the dog, but again, that's more of like a personal
See,
triggering thing. Like I don't want animals or children in distress in my books.
Yeah.
But you bring up a
There,
great
so
point.
they were mad that the dog was missing, that the teacher was murdered, and
Yeah,
it's true. It
it's
was
true.
like they were the whole town was looking for this dog.
Yeah.
Even the waitress, like, oh, you found the dog. Oh, here we go with the dog. The dog was a plot line. I was waiting for it like the whole to like we gotta check the dog. Like, it's gotta be
Yeah.
on the. Like,
Yeah.
did the dog hang her? Like, what is it? It's a costume, and it's just
That's
the
a plot
murder.
twist.
It was crazy. He was good, though.
Oh my gosh.
I forgot about the whole thing. Yeah, it's true. The dog was like, come on.
Mhm. Oh, okay. So I guess that said, we've kind of continued the series, but that begs the question, would you keep continuing or would you kind of go back at all to read some of the other books in the series?
Yeah, the cliffhanger of the best friend, the relationship with the best friend leaving is, I liked Kennedy in the book, and I like their
Yeah.
relationship. How they are. They're polar opposites, but they're so close. It's nice to see, and then so I want to know whether or not, kind of like the Christmas one left me hanging with the ghost. This one
Mhm.
left me hanging on the relationship with the friend, and whether or not
Uh-huh.
she goes back to England. Like
I
I'm
feel like
hoping that
Lindsay's gonna
how
go to
they go to
England.
England and they visit and they take
I
a trip
think
to
so.
England. The murder
I
happened
feel
there, and
like
now they're
that's
doing the
what's
whole
gonna
Jack the
happen.
Ripper thing.
Yep. I think
In
that's what's gonna happen.
something happens in England while she's visiting with Rory and
Mhm.
Wellington. It's got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So
Maybe. Hopefully
maybe,
not.
so
But no, I
that
agree,
vibe,
especially because
maybe them visiting in England and they're there, and
right.
then the cop decides to go or something like where they're all going
Yeah.
visiting. The whole
Because that
amateur
happens
group
in
is
cozies
visiting for
too,
England.
where they visit or they have change of scenery. So I feel like this was setting up for that.
Yeah. I would go back to the first book because the Christmas one wasn't the first book. I think it was the second. So
Yeah.
I would go back to the St. Patrick's Day. I would if I have time and probably just listen to the audiobooks because I do think if they keep the same narrator, I think it's a good audiobook.
Yes. And I think that also contributed to my high rating. I think that the narrator did a great job with all of the voices. Obviously, Kennedy was my favorite, but I think that it definitely makes it more palatable to read
I'm
through.
gonna have to listen to it because I want to know if they say water.
She does. She has a British
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah. Okay, friends. Well, I guess we are nearing the end. You gave it 4 stars, kind of bumped up. I gave it
Mhm.
4. You gave it 3.5.
Yes.
Ulysses, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, solid, cozy. It clearly kept us engaged. Nobody DNF'd it, so I'd consider that a success.
This one had a lot more suspects than the first one
Mm,
that I
Yeah,
read.
yeah.
So
good
it
amount.
was good intriguing to trying to figure it out. I like the fact that it kept me until the end to figure it out who it was. It wasn't as shocking, but it was like, oh, okay, nice. So
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, thank you guys. It seemed like average rating for everyone seemed to be 3 or 4 stars, so that's good. We
Yeah.
have not had a cozy mystery that we've given less than 3 stars on our book club pick.
Is that true?
Yes,
mhm.
Okay.
we've given all of them
I
3,
think
4,
about the
5.
She has
Okay,
not.
good.
She usually reads a book, and for her lives, it's like, oh my god, I can't get this book is going to be the death of me because I can't finish it. I can't read it.
That's part of the
She has not
process,
come to me
though.
with one of
We
those
already
books
know Sam's
from the Cozy
process.
mystery series is that she's not
Liked.
liked or enjoyed. Like, oh yeah, it's a
Oh,
really
yeah.
good. She's like, oh daddy, you should read it because it's really good.
Yeah.
She has not come. There's a couple books that she read, and she's like, oh, I don't even want to finish reading. It's just so bad. And I'm like, okay,
For other live shows,
other
but
live
this one
shows,
is
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I feel like we always crescendo because the Christmas ones have always been a hit. Like
Yes.
last year was 5 stars for
Oh,
sure
yeah.
because I binged the rest of the series. So for the Christmas one, we will keep you guys posted on what we end up picking. If you have any suggestions, you can message us on Instagram. But we'll announce what we will be reading for Christmas probably in the next couple weeks, so you guys can get a head start.
Yeah, so we'll have it. We have our Instagram page, Teacups Murder. You guys can join us, watch us on the replay. We'll announce our book there, and the live show will be on my channel.
Yep. Sweet.
Cool.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining. We will talk to y'all later. Bye.